Welcome everyone. Today is another question, this time from Dave. It's a bit of a long question, so let's see. My routine at the moment is to start with 5 deep breaths, then breathe in and out 5 more times while focusing on my legs, belly, chest, arms, and head in turn. I then try to be aware of my body and breath in general and minimize my thoughts. I then usually end up trying a mix of different strategies without much consistency of technique. Sometimes I try visualizations of being a sphere breathing in and out, or of just being in limitless space without any real form, or of my body being hollow and air coming in and out. These just sort of emerge without much planning and forethought, and usually they don't last very long before I get distracted or lose motivation to maintain them. I also find that these visualizations can themselves become a source of distractions if I try to visualize them in too much detail. I will become fixated, for example, on the shape of the sphere and start imagining a kink or deviation in it, which undercuts its calming influence on my mind. It's like my monkey mind is trying to tear down the visualization by pointing out flaws in it. Anyway, rather than visualizing in detail, I have some success with just trying to connect with the feeling of calmness or bliss. Sometimes a nice physical sensation will arise this way, though usually not for longer than a minute or two. It can be very pleasurable though. Sometimes I also try to strip away any of these techniques and just try to empty my mind of the yearning sensation that can accompany these techniques, and instead just sit without trying to reach for that pleasant sensation. Occasionally, that has led me to fall into a deeper pleasurable meditative state for a minute or two, and then I come out of it slowly and calmly. Other times, it feels like not using these techniques means it is harder to calm my monkey mind. Anyway, I'm wondering if you can give me advice on techniques to assist me in this phase of the meditation process that involves trying to achieve a more singular focus to my mind. As we see with the nature of this question, it is very complex. So the mind tends to be sometimes very complex. It is very creative. It creates a lot of things. It creates these techniques as we go along. It creates different visualizations, the yearning for different techniques, trying out this, trying out that. That simply means that the mind is very complex. It is not simple enough for happiness yet. So happiness arises with simplicity. The more simple the mind is, the more happy it gets. If the mind is very complex, it's very difficult to have any happiness in the mind. Think about it like this. If your mind is, for example, going into this visualization, as you say, of a sphere, then there is happiness for as long as you stay with the simplicity of the visualization. The mind just adheres to the sphere. It's just quiet with it. Doesn't do anything else much. Then the happiness ends as soon as he visualizes some kink in it or whatever. So then there's distraction, there is worrying, there is thinking coming up, and then after the session again, it is followed by wondering and thinking and being bewildered, thinking about how do I meditate properly, so that there is a lot of doubt. What other techniques can I apply, or what would be the right technique, the proper technique, and so forth. So this is very common. It happened to me a long time also. This jumpiness in our practice, jumping from technique to technique and variations of the technique and sub-variations of the variations and so forth. It does not help at all. You need to have one authentic technique and really stick to it with determination, diligence, and with discipline. It means to do it whether there is like or dislike. You simply do it. Every day, maybe sometimes you feel like, today I don't want to do it. It's kind of bothersome to do it. And then we don't do it. We still follow like and dislike. Other days we feel like really we want to do it and we're looking forward to it, and not much happens in the practice. So we follow like again. So without following like or dislike, it is very crucial for success in meditation to stay put with one practice and really pull it through, so to say. So to do it regularly, with determination, again and again and again, so then results will show. That is for sure. Of course, the more you meditate, the deeper the results will get. Sticking to your technique like this is very important. I would say simply that whenever there is another idea coming up, like or a spontaneous different visualization, it's almost like your mind is trying to keep you from enjoying itself. Yeah. Sometimes the mind does that. Very often does that, in fact. It creates distractions and problems also in relationships. So it can get what it is used to get. Some people, they seek out trouble without knowing that they seek out trouble, because their trouble is their comfort zone. So they constantly surround themselves with things that are troublesome, with people that are troublesome, because it's what they know and it's what their subconscious mind knows. So it seeks out what it knows. The subconscious mind is like that. It just simply seeks out what it knows. And it does that again and again in a very repetitive fashion. So here maybe the subconscious mind is seeking out some ways to avoid to enjoy itself. As absurd that sounds, the mind does work like this in very absurd ways sometimes. It keeps us from actually enjoying ourselves. It keeps itself from enjoying itself by continuously creating busyness, artificial busyness, busyness that we actually don't need, things that we actually don't need. Seemingly living in a world right now also in which there's so much things that we actually don't really need, but they have such a great importance in our life. And since these things have been created also, now, and they have been implied in our day-to-day living, so now they have become an actual need. Before they haven't been that needs. For example, for a faster internet connection. Before, like 100 years ago, there wasn't any thought about any internet connection whatsoever, and people were okay. Now this is this new kind of thing that arose with a great progress of technology and so forth. And now we're looking for the fastest internet connection, and we of course suffer and complain if the internet connection is not fast enough. So this is an artificially created thing that human beings have created, an internet connection, and now we suffer that creation. And so the mind is kind of in a similar way. First it creates the sphere and it creates the visualization. Later it suffers that very same creation. It's kind of a funny habit the mind has. So here only one thing helps. Come back to the task at hand and really stick to it. It's some sort of kind of a warrior's attitude almost. You have to be very single-pointed in your focus. It means really bringing the mind back to the present moment again and again and again in a very repeated way. Like if you have this little hyperactive child and you want to teach the hyperactive child that it can relax on the bed, it might take an effort to constantly grab the child and bring it back to the bed and sit it down on the bed and say, so now please relax, sleep a little bit. The child doesn't really realize that sleeping is quite relaxing because it is constantly active, it is used to activity. So the mind is in a similar way, very used to activity, used to creating things. So if suddenly you tell it to just be still and stay right here, then its hyperactive nature becomes even more obvious at first. So many people feel kind of desperate. They feel, oh my God, I'm not good at meditation. I can't focus. Can't even focus for a second and so forth. It's normal. It's part of the process. So here we need to grab the child repeatedly and put it back on the bed until the child gets tired and bored, like this. So this is just an image, yeah? We're not doing this with children anyways. Not just constantly grabbing them, putting them back on the bed. There's an image for the mind. So bringing the mind back to a place where it can relax in the present moment without any further thought, to just simply stay based in this presence. That's also, by the way, just the first stage of the meditative process, is this preparatory stage in which, as the Buddha expresses it, we bring mindfulness to the fore. We make mindfulness important. Simple mindfulness, present moment awareness, and silent present moment awareness. Going through the body, relaxing all the body parts, helps you to get settled in the posture and settles the energy of the day-to-day grind that we go through. And then we go into present moment awareness, simply listening to sounds or noticing the sensations in the body. Then that then becomes a silent present moment awareness, in which then there is no more commentary in the mind, no more verbalization. So the mind doesn't talk anymore. If you hear the birds, the mind is not wondering what kind of birds, or it's just simply sound. No more complexity, you see? In the beginning, there's the complexity of future and past falls away. Therefore, there is the happiness of the present moment. In the second stage, the complexity of inner talk falls away. Therefore, there is the happiness of silence. In a third stage, the complexity of multiplicity falls away. So the mind doesn't buzz around anymore between sounds, feelings, smells, feelings, sounds, and so forth. It doesn't jump anymore. Even though silent, it's still jumping in stage 2. So in stage 3, it becomes single-pointed. Then we just stay with the breath. While breathing in, we simply know and recognize this is the in-breath. How do you know that you're breathing in? How do you know that you're breathing out? You simply know it, right? And you stay with that particular knowledge. Breathing in, we know we're breathing in. Breathing out, we know we're breathing out. As for my own path, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Like, what does it mean to just know that you're breathing in and know that you're breathing out? It sounds quite boring. I didn't know how to do it. What should I focus on? Not really any focus point. It's just that recognition. Now this is breathing in. It starts, it peaks, it ends. Very simple. And then the breathing out starts. And it peaks and it ends. Simply knowing it like this. Staying with the breath. Not focusing on any particular part of the body. Staying with that recognition. Then we let go of dullness in stage number 4. And so there comes in the happiness of clarity. The mind becomes exceedingly clear and crisp. It's like watching a movie on an old television versus watching it on a UHD TV. Most modern, most clear imaging technology that you can imagine. Watching it there is far more enjoyable than watching it on some sort of old pixely kind of screen. Yeah. So this crispness, this clarity comes with stage 4. As you proceed and you stay with one object, then you bring in more detail. You don't just simply know, oh, breathing out or breathing in has started, then it peaks and it ends, but you know every little moment of the breath. So the mindfulness in that stage becomes slowly continuous, more and more unbroken. So the hyperactive child is not hyperactive anymore. It stays on the bed for quite a while before it becomes hyperactive for a little moment again, and then immediately goes back into its calm, relaxing state. Like that. Whereas in the beginning it's the other way around. 99% of your meditation session is a mess, and 1% is a little bit of focus. A little bit later, stage 4, stage 5, it's going to be quite the other way around. It is 99% continuous focus, and 1% mess is still there. And that 1% mess is the doing and the willing. These two. So we're letting go of that. Well, stage 5 and 6. We let go of the will and the doing. So the will, the urge to go deeper in your meditation practice is still kind of pulled forward. So as you let go of the will and you let go of the doing, there is the bliss of being. Okay, so each step, progressively, you cultivate something and you also let go of something. The cultivation aspect is kind of automatic there. It arises as you let go. Like if you let go of a heavy bag that you've been carrying around, it's automatic that your hand feels good. You don't have to create a good feeling in your arm after letting go of the heavy bag. The good feeling in your arm arises as a result of the heavy tension that you had in your arm before, while you were still holding the bag. As you put the bag down, tension goes away. Feels great. Kind of the regular principle of pleasure that we have in life. Every form of pleasure that we know is basically following that same principle. As soon as we let go of a build-up of tension, we feel it's nice. For example, if we let go of the build-up of tension of hunger by eating, we feel good. The eating feels good. Then if we let go of the build-up of tension of eating and we put down our spoon and our fork, then we feel good again, because if you would just continue eating, it wouldn't be that healthy anymore or pleasurable. As Chris is just changing his posture, you let go of the previous tension, arriving at a new posture. And as you let go of the tension, this pleasure that you're experiencing right now could be called, not actually pleasure, but relief. So that relief lasts for a little while, until you change your posture again. So now the next tension builds up. Watch out for it. So this is the pleasure principle. We perceive something as pleasurable as we let go of a previous buildup of tension. And in meditation, you do that in a very substantial way. You let go of the basic, most tension of life. The tension of future and past in stage 1. The tension of talk in stage 2. The tension of multiplicity in stage 3. The tension of dullness in stage 4. The tension of the will and the doer in stage 5 and 6. Stage 7, then you enter very deep meditation. So this is the process, and we want to stick to that process as good as possible. It means every day you do exactly, precisely the same. This afternoon, I will sit down and I will record some guided meditation. I've been wanting to do this, but we're so busy at the moment, so I just keep postponing it all the time. This afternoon I will upload also some guided meditation, exactly the meditation technique that we're doing all the time. I want to also say something about this one, using guided meditation. If you sit down and use guided meditation, it is very good to learn the technique. Yes. But then at some point, we have to let go of the guided meditation, because otherwise we're not training our mind. It's a bit like, if you're hearing the voice in your ears, and the voice in your ears tells you to now become mindful of the breath or the sounds. Basically, then the voice is mindful for you. It reminds you of being mindful. So you know what to do then, of course, but you have to remind yourself. That's mindfulness. You have to remember for yourself to listen to the sounds. Otherwise, you're not training it. Many people really enjoy guided meditation. They like to listen to podcasts with guided meditations all the time, because we all like a state where we don't have to make any effort. Yeah, so even the mindfulness can be done for us. Like the nice voice in your head says, okay, now come back to your breath. And whoa, there's the breath again. And it almost feels like you remembered to come back to the breath, but no, actually not. It's the voice reminding you. It's a bit like a phone that reminds you of an appointment that you have. It weakens your ability to plan and to actually remind yourself. So all these kind of smart devices have an opposing effect, actually. They make us less and less smart, more and more dependent, in fact. Yeah. So it's very important to kind of train the mind to stay fit. And also in meditation, of course, it is all about mind training. So we sit down and we have to learn how to go through the steps of the technique. Therefore, you need a teacher, you need guided meditation, you need to study the technique, etc. But then in the end, you need to do it, and you need to become proficient at doing it. And you can only become proficient if you dare to fail. And that's what happens in meditation in the first few sessions all the time. You fail a lot. You don't know if you're doing it right. There's doubt. There's all kinds of visualizations coming up, interfering with your practice, suggesting, hey, you should maybe visualize yourself as a hollow sphere and then breathe light into that hollow sphere. And you do that for a while, and of course it gets boring. Or there's another distraction coming along. It's the nature of these things. So next time, don't listen to these ideas the mind is suggesting you, because the mind in that case here is highly misleading. For a beginner in meditation, it is very important not to listen to the suggestions of one's mind, and instead just practice the technique as we should practice it, step by step. Just copy it. And do it precisely as you've learned it, again and again. That is a recipe for success. Many people, they don't follow that. They kind of go on and off, then we don't do it for a while, then we do it again, then we do it slightly differently, then we follow our moods, maybe bring in a little bit more light, maybe bring in more rainbow colors, maybe get the idea of chakras into the whole thing and so forth. So it becomes a huge salad of things, and it doesn't taste good anymore after a while. And then some people also do the same with retreats. They go to one retreat, and then they go to another one, and then they try this and they try that. Trying is good. You go around and you try, you learn new stuff. But at some point, if you're really interested in a spiritual path, we have to commit and then walk it. It's like after a while, if you want to climb a mountain, it's the same thing, right? Climbing a mountain also, at some point, you kind of have to decide which route to take and then walk. And then while you're on the route, sure, you can kind of go down again and start on another route. But the route is not the goal here. Just jumping routes and becoming proficient at knowing every route, but no route 100%. Knowing a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one. So it's about coming to the peak of the mountain, and that only works if we commit to getting to the peak. And then we choose one route that is attractive, we choose one guide that is helpful, that we trust, and then we just walk. And then really commit to the practice, commit to it, and it will work out. That is for sure. For some people it takes a longer time, for some people it is very short. You just keep going. It's like this. Like also a tree that grows depending on the soil. Is it fertile? Is it not? Is the water full of minerals? Is it not? Is the sunlight good enough? Does it come through the taller trees? All that determines the growth of a tree. Some trees grow slower, some faster. And of course, we can say, for who does meditation practice grow the fastest? For someone who is really committed, really dedicated, and ideally lives in a surrounding in which there is nothing else but the focus on the practice. Like, for example, a monastic. That's the point of being a monastic. The whole point is just you do nothing else. You dedicate your entire life to just climbing the mountain. It's okay. Some people decide to go full on. But some people also achieve the same while living in a normal, regular, day-to-day life. However, it is much more difficult, requires much more dedication and commitment, of course. Yes. It's more challenging, which has its good sides also. You know, some of the monks who are living in solitude, they do experience great challenges, but they do experience, some challenges are there that they do not experience, like the challenge of family life. So sometimes it's good for such a monk to maybe come back out of the cave and have a look if there was real progress on the path. Similarly, the other way around, for householders, for people who are practicing just like us, it's also very important to see the uncharted territory of going into retreat sometimes and test ourselves out in silence and solitude, see how that works out. So it's all about balance and dedicating to one single practice with pleasure. Yes. So that way you have good chances. Are there any other questions?
I don't know, I just don't know anything about meditation.
Yes.
That's why all this is so new for me, and obviously I notice like all these voices in my head and everything, but like sometimes I feel when they stop and I try, like I stay focused, I just feel too relaxed that I'm falling asleep. Like, and I'm like, wait, I can't sleep. I'm meditating.
Yes.
And then again, like all these voices come back and
Yeah.
go away, come back, go away, then I just sleep.
Yeah. So obviously you need rest. Yes. This is one thing about our society. We are growing up and we are raised with this kind of super high ideals that we have to do what we do always perfectly, that we have to be a very perfect being, that you should not sleep when you're meditating and all these kind of things. And so we also have all these imaginations and fantasies about how life is supposed to be. And these are very, very far from reality. For example, we only would accept good health, but we don't accept illness. Yeah, we have this kind of idea that life should be only good health, only fit, only radiant, only happy all the time, only smiling all the time, you know. But life is not like that at all. And also that one is amongst this category, believing that I shouldn't be tired, I should meditate. But tiredness is a very clear sign. As you're resting, as you go into the meditative process, you get tired. It's a sure shot sign that your body really needs rest. And many, many people are in desperate need of rest. Not so much because the body doesn't sleep enough, but the mind never rests actually, and that sucks a lot of energy out of our life. The mind is continuously talking. That takes a huge amount of energy, particularly also if there are many emotions in our day-to-day life. It's very consuming of energy. It takes out a lot of energy. So we have to have some means of resting. Resting the body means you eat well, you sleep well, you exercise well, these three. And resting the mind is meditation. So you have these four pillars of leading a lifestyle which is healthy, which re-energizes you. Eating well, sleeping well, exercising well, and meditating well. If you have these four in nice balance, then there will be much more energy. So when you sit down and you meditate, the energy level only goes up. But in the beginning, and for most people it's like this, that the energy level is at zero. So the phone is like charging a phone. It kind of needs to boot up first. And then there's just 1%, 2%, and then you need to rest. You need to charge yourself. So sleep. If you're tired, then just sleep.
So if I feel during the meditation that I'm falling asleep, just...
Yes, stop the session and sleep. Yes, absolutely. I recommend to do it like this, maybe first take a nap, lie down for 30 minutes or what, and then meditate for another 30 minutes. Just sit down quietly and let go. You will see it's a huge difference. And you do that until you're sufficiently charged and you don't need to nap so much anymore, as you're not so tired. Then you can also meditate lying down and you won't fall asleep because you have enough energy. It's like that. The body seeks out sleep. As soon as you're giving your heart a break, it's like, okay, rest. Breathing in, breathing out. Your heart is like, oh God, finally, and puts you to sleep right away. You see how that goes? For most people. For me, it's a clear indication that I need rest. If I'm tired, falling asleep in my meditation, I just lie down and sleep. Yeah, welcome. It's a good question. Many people also feel guilty about sleeping. I have it all the time at the retreat. It happens all the time. Like they would come to the afternoon session, it's question and answer session at about 5 p.m. And then sometimes I hear, yeah, Tobi, today I didn't do much. I actually slept a lot. It turns out these people are really jet-lagged, tired. They come out of an incredibly stressful and dramatic lifestyle, and they still manage to feel guilty about having slept instead of being productive and meditating. So we're bringing in this kind of attitude into our meditation. We're defeating ourselves. It doesn't work like that. We have to be kind to ourselves. The body shows you it needs to rest, Then take a break and rest. Yes?
You said about what comfort zones mind keeps creating, like not feeling good enough if it is used to not feeling good enough, right?
Yes.
So it keeps bringing same situations and thoughts to make you feel bad. I wonder if I can train it somehow to to think positively, to just come down, to feel less worried about what is happening if the meditation can help me.
Yes, it's possible. Yes, sure. If we're training our mind to be more kind, to be more positive, compassionate, definitely. Very often, however, it's enough to accept ourselves the way we are with awareness. And so all these negative, harmful patterns in the mind naturally can dissolve. The problem is that often we are approaching our negative thought patterns with a negative thought pattern. So we are attacking ourselves for being so negative. And so it's kind of coming in back through the back door. So it's defeating itself. You see what I mean? It's like, gosh, why am I so negative? Damn it. So it's in that way. So we need to be careful and vigilant. Clearly recognizing what's the attitude that is looking at the negative mind. How am I looking at it? Am I looking at the negative mind through the lens of negativity? Or am I looking at the negative mind through the lens of compassion? Am I able to accept, it's like this, poor negative mind. I'm giving it a break. I'm just leaving it alone. I'm not doing anything to it. I'm not doctoring around on it. That is very kind, We're taking away the scalpel, so to say, and the pen to paint, you could cut away a little bit here and a little bit there and optimize the whole thing a little bit. We put it down. That is very kind. That is a very kind thing to do. And also helps a lot, Helps a lot. It took me a long time to learn, I need to leave myself alone and things fix themselves. It's a miraculous kind of thing, but it works. All it needs is just sitting down and giving myself a thorough break. Not doing anything to myself. All right, anything else? Good. All right then. Thank you very much for coming.